Oh, hello there. Today I'm going to be quickly going through all of the 8 professions of Guild Wars 2. If I sound off, it's because I'm pretty damn sick. Now I am the opposite of an expert in any of these professions. I'm going to show you, because I only had a short time with each of them. I'm not going to go into detail about the class, or I'm not going to do anything about the balance. For each class, I'm going to show you and talk about 2 things. First will be just the class fighting somewhere between level 1 and level 5 in the starting zone. This is just to demonstrate your early level experience and what the class might be leveling up. The second bit will be looking at the structured PvP. The structured PvP automatically puts you up to max level in this game with everything unlocked. So I think it's the best thing to give you an idea of what the classes will be at the end game level. The idea is that these 2 perspectives should get you a general idea of what the class is about. By the way, I'm going to say class a hell of a lot, no matter what arena that decides to call them. Professions, whatever. Necro is the first class I started with. The necromancer, and I made her one of the new races, the Asura. Asura will probably be my main race as well. They're just a bunch of nerds. From the little low-level experience I had with the necromancer, even with a dagger, it plays as a range class, and it plays exactly as a classic MMO range class at that. The first abilities you get are some range damaging attacks, as well as little CC. You will also get a heal off, as every class does, and in this case a minion that heals you by hitting others. The uniqueness of this class comes from its special ability, the Death Shroud. This mode turns you into an evil ball of shadows for a certain amount of time, based on your life force and if you are being hit. While in this mode you have a completely new set of abilities and are completely invulnerable to all damage. To get into this mode, you're going to have to build up life force, which comes from the use of some abilities as well as enemy deaths. Warning, falling damage is an exception. This mode will not save you from jumping off a big cliff. Now, playing Necro in PvP with all the skills unlocked was something a little bit different. I played with all the default traits and the default build with a couple skill changes. The resulting playstyle consisted of dealing damage mainly through debuffs and pets. I could have about 3 pets at a time. One of them was actually my healer. It would lifesteal for me and I could sacrifice it at any time when I needed an HP boost. So I put my pets out, sacrificing them when needed, and then do a little damage while debuffing foes around me. Looking at the other Necro skills I could have used, I can see a few builds being possible for this class. The most interesting one would probably be focused about removing all the debuffs from you and your team, and I can see that being a hugely useful character in team play, though it's not quite as fun to play 1v1. I also had a couple of my 10 skills that would give me life force as I use them. Your goal of the Necro is, no matter the build, to gather your life force up and then switch into Death Shroud and tank face. As for death mechanics, this class has a fear that they can use when dying, but it doesn't often work that well, so it's nothing special. Next up was my Salvari elementalist. This class was another classic ranged MMO class. Even more so, really. This class cannot swap weapons, as instead it swaps between attunements. Starting out, the class has a water attunement and a fire attunement. The water attunement is filled with abilities to support and heal yourself and allies, while the fire one is focused more on pure big DPS numbers. The attunement affects more than just basic skills, as for example your healing skill gives you a different buff depending on which one you're in. The fire attunement at low level was also pretty fun with some creative enough abilities. The class death mechanic was also pretty interesting, as you can actually move for 5 seconds while in it. You can turn into mist form and escape for 5 seconds then fall back again. As for the PvP experience, it's quite big. The elementalist at max level has a huge amount of total abilities with the 4 unlocked attunements, as well as the damaging fire and healing water abilities. We have the support style lightning with buffs and debuffs, And finally we have the Earth, which is very tanky. Personally, I decided on playing with a build that was focused on mainly being survivable. I don't know about the viability of this, but it was very fun at least. This involved playing mostly in the Earth attunement, while switching out to lightning or water sometimes. The abilities I chose increased my defense, or made me invulnerable for a bit. As for my light skill, I chose to transform into a giant tornado, and that was just pretty cool. I had reasonable success with the build, and could survive against a few guys for a little while. I'm sure I could have survived twice as long if I was any good as well. Looking at all the different skills and all the different attunements, I realized that this class is very versatile. It could easily be built as a pure damage dealing class, or multiple kinds of pure support, or the closest thing this game has to a healer, or anything in between. Personally, I enjoy the class a lot more than I did Necro, but I'm sure that's just my personal preference. The next profession I played was the Warrior. I made this big Norn warrior, and from the first impression standpoint, it was exactly what I expected a warrior to be. I was charging foes, hitting them at short range with a sword. Doing that builds up little energy bar that when full you can use to activate a frenzy mode where you go crazy on everyone and immobilize a foe while doing a lot of damage. You start with a healing ability that's pretty much a basic heal, and it also fills up your adrenaline a bit. As for the death mechanics this guy has, he can actually get up and fight some more for a few seconds before falling back over, so that's the best death ability so far I've seen. At max level, your options grow a little. You can be more classic melee warrior, or you can actually use ranged weapons. The bow and the gun are both at your disposal. However, since I just play 2 ranged classes, I decided to go pure tanky axe-wielding barbarian on this one. I learned quickly that the special ability you get is actually weapon-based, and the axes is a charge. Otherwise, the axe is just a bunch of damage buttons to spam, with one of them throwing the axe, but the other ones are just pure damage. I chose some tanky abilities. Warriors have a few options of banners they can drop down to give them some buffs. For my light skill, I used this one where I turn into a titan and stomp everyone, and that was the coolest part of the whole class by far. And it fit together quite well with the rest, but the rest was a little boring. However, it does leave you with a sense of feeling quite powerful. If you're looking for something a little slow but bulky, this class is most definitely for you. So the next class I tried out was the Guardian, who by the looks of it is like some kind of paladin class. And as the warrior is initially exactly what you expect a warrior to be, the Guardian is initially exactly what you'd expect a paladin to be. He's a melee profession with some divine powers that can damage, help, or heal. The paladin's unique ability is just some virtues, which are buffs that last for just a few seconds. Honestly, it's not that exciting of a special ability, and the most boring of all of them so far. You get one that increases your damage, and another that increases your HP regen. Now, like the warrior, you can play this class melee or ranged. But unexpectedly, in the end I found this class coming closer to the elementalist than the warrior. I tried this class out as full-on support. I used the staff, which had various supporting abilities, and then chose some healing and protecting skills. For the light skill, I chose a book that gives a whole new set of abilities. This one, for a short time, gives you various support abilities. One of the abilities actually heals up to 5 of your allies to full. There's also a similar light skill that gives you an offensive book. So while I think it's the best way to play the Guardian is with some level of support in, you can also add a good amount of damage and can either go for melee or ranged, depending on your preference. Overall, the class was pretty damn fun to play, and reminded me of playing a healer in a normal MMO, but it was actually a better experience. Next up was the Engineer. Now this, as far as I can tell, is a pretty new idea to base a whole class around. Starting out, it seems like a nice range class, while the first word that comes to mind is AoE. First of all, your special is 4 unlockables, which the first of is unlocked at the beginning, being Elixir H. This gives some buffs to you and allies within a certain area. Your abilities you get are all AoE, as they can hit multiple foes, at least with the starting weapon. So from a low level standpoint, I think this class will be very good if you have that kind of playstyle, or if you're going to be playing with friends, since you have your elixir to help them out. In terms of the class's death moves, it's got a little thing that pulls enemies to it, and that's about all, so the class is not that useful when downed. So when I got into the max level stuff, I was a little confused as to what was on my 4 special keys, as they seemed to be the same as my normal abilities. Taking a little closer look, the engineer's abilities all have special counterparts. In the case of turrets, your function keys allow you to detonate those turrets. In the case of the flamethrower I was using, it gives you incendiary ammo. Now I think the engineer is a class for you if you like to play with some really cool gadgets, simple as that. I personally played almost a basic setup, which had a bunch of turrets and 1 weapon set. The weapon set I used was the flamethrower. I put down my turrets and then just burned through everyone, and it felt pretty damn nice. However, that's not the nearly only way to play. You have a variety of cool little gadgets to choose from, and then you have a variety of turrets to choose from, and then a variety of weapon sets. Other than the flamethrower, you could go full out engineer and grab the pack that will repair your turrets, or you can grab a full healing pack and use that to be a support class. Just to be clear, a weapon set is something that will replace all 5 of your weapon moves for a certain amount of time, and the engineer makes a lot of use of it. The engineer is a very versatile and team-based class to play. The next profession is a sort of similar thing, but it's more of a classic. It's the ranger. The ranger is special for the pet it has. You can give your pet a few orders. You can either order it to guard you or run away. You can order it to directly attack something, or you can order it to use a special ability, which each pet has. It seems like you can get multiple pets over time, but the one I started with upon character creation was some sort of giant bird. My bird got the ability to put up protection to allies. I started with an axe as weapon, but even with it I was just throwing it. The abilities I got are all ranged, and some are tied to my pet. I got one that boosted my pet's next attack. As for max level stuff, I quickly discovered that melee was indeed an option. Not only that, playing with the sword melee on a ranger in this game is fun as hell. It's the most fun I've had playing melee so far, and just feels good. Based on this, I just went full out damage mode and spec'd into a bunch of cooldowns that increased that damage. They mainly increased it both me and my pet, so we were a slaying duo. I switched to the range weapon when I felt like it, and damage was effective using that as well. I guess I should say what else is available, although I think this is the most fun way to play the ranger for sure. You have access to a lot of traps that you can lay down, and you have lots of spirits that you can call for buffs for your team. You can easily use this to be more of a support class, but that's totally up to you. As for the death moves on this one, you can get your pet to come help you and revive you. After a certain amount of time, it's not that great, but if people leave you alone, then it will get you up faster. The ranger in general is just very fun class to play, and I think it will probably be very powerful as well. The mesmer is the newest class we've been introduced to in Guild Wars 2, and is based off an interesting mechanic. The mesmer, while using his or her basic move, gains an illusion every 3 hits. These illusions will do more damage, providing some distraction to enemies, and then you have the chance to sacrifice these illusions. At a low level, you can either sacrifice them to damage enemies, or to confuse them. As for general skills that you can use, It's expected magic and ranged spells. They seem powerful enough for a start, and you quickly get the use of CC to throw in, as well as a block you can use. The special death moves that the mesmer gets are illusion based as well. One will create an injured clone of you, and another will summon a clone to fight while you're downed. Going to a max level PvP in this case is sort of what you expect. Of course, it's a lot more complex. I do think the mesmer is a pretty complex class in general, and takes a lot more getting used to than I gave it. I played it as a support class with a bunch of skills that could stealth my team, and that was very useful, and hopefully it annoyed the enemy a whole bunch. I see the mesmer as being quite a good high damage build, or quite a good support class at high level, and the whole system of building up illusions and sacrificing them at the right time is pretty cool. I don't think I'm going to play it much anymore myself, but I really see the appeal of this class, and I can see a lot of use behind it, especially in PvP. So, I saved the Thief class for last, as it was the class I had played previously in past beta weekends. Unfortunately, this weekend deleted my old Thief, and I had to start a new one. The Thief can easily be played as melee or ranged very quickly, but you start out in dagger range with a few close-up skills. The heal you start off with both heals you and stealths you, which will be your first stealth ability. The stealth in this game is not the same as stealth in lots of classic MMOs like World of Warcraft or something like that, in where it's permanent. In this game, stealth will only last you a few seconds, but it's going to be very useful. The Thief's unique skill, Stealing, allows you to teleport to an enemy, stealing a skill from them that can vary. It can be some kind of damaging move, or some kind of CC, or even something that stealths you for free. When you die, you can also teleport around a bit, and stealth yourself. It's pretty damn cool. Oh, and all your moves take initiative points, which can get sort of annoying, and you need to get used to that. But overall, the Thief is pretty cool to play from a low-level standpoint. So I built my Thief to be almost the same as the last time I played one. Before I got into that, I'm gonna tell you the options. Thieves can choose from multiple traps, tricks, and poisons. They can specialize into these things and be very stealthy, or not at all so. Mine's about medium level in that whole stealth scale, but has 2 traps to lay down. And I have a lot of extra movement speed, as well as some nice skills for locking people down. I've decided on mainly using ranged pistols, as it just seems a lot better than playing with daggers. I also went and changed some traits for this, as I knew what I had them at before, and mainly to give me speed and power boosts whenever I dodge. Perhaps the most important thing to note is actually how Thieves' 2 death moves work in PvP. He can both teleport and drop stealthy smoke bombs when down. This rotation can keep you alive for almost forever, even with people constantly trying to finish you. It's pretty overpowered. But overall, the way I was playing the Thief at least, it's just a really fast class. You can move around a lot, you can be very quick, and you can chase down or run away, get out of a situation really easily with your stealth, speed, etc. It's something I feel will be very useful in competitive gameplay probably, and I really like it. Well, there you go folks, that's all the game's professions. I hope it helped you out in some way, shape, or form. As for my personal favorite of all these professions, it's a really hard choice. I really enjoyed the Guardian and the Engineer. It was so fun with the flamethrower and all that. But I think my favorite is a tie between the Thief and the Ranger. It's going to be a hard choice on which to play on the game's release, but I'm thinking that I'm actually leaning towards the Ranger now. And that's about all for today, guys. If you guys would like to see more content like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.